welcome. I'm here with Dilmer Valecillos, an amazing entrepreneurial and truly dedicated game developer, specializing in casual mobile games. He's managed to build a thriving games portfolio with a long tail of revenue, doing ports to other platforms and stuff like that, while still working a full-time job. He's the epitome of a dedicated and focused developer. He works at night to make his game development and vision come to fruition. There's so much more I could say about his business, and I'm going to leave that for the interview. So we'll dive straight in. Welcome, Dilmer, to the Business of Indie Games.
Hey, thank you, Simon. I really appreciate your time, and I'm really excited to share what has been about 5 to 6 years of experience in the indie industry, and I'm really hoping that people get to know what I've been going through, and that information can help them try to avoid the mistakes that I made in the past and also grow as indie developers.
Wonderful, thank you. I mean, I know we're in for a treat because I've watched your channel. So the 5 or 6 years, please tell us about your game development journey, first of all.
Absolutely, Simon. So in the last 5 years, I've been, as many of you, I started with the dream of making a game. I was one of those who watched the indie game movie. I fell in love with, the passion of being able to develop a game by yourself and do it all from the beginning to the end. So I just couldn't stop, trying to figure things out and working in it day and night. And I remember that as a kid, I used to play with the Atari. I grew up with the Atari. My uncle had an Atari business, and he would hand to me a lot of these games. And growing up, I just fell in love with that, and now knowing that we could build games by ourselves, as in the and stop, working on games and studying about games. And I went to school as a computer science degree. I got a computer science degree, and then I did like the business side of computer science, but there wasn't anything as amazing as making a game and building your character. So I started working on a game. I didn't know what the game was going to be, and I started playing games like Limbo, Braid, and some of those very popular games that every indie knows about. And I just fell in love with that, and I would stay. I remember days when I would stay, up to 4 or 5 in the morning, and then wake up and then go to work, and people would tell me, Dilmer, are you okay? Are you are you tired? Do you need some help? Do you need a coffee? And people thought that, and a lot of people that they still good friends of mine, they tell me, so Dilmer, how do you do it? How do you actually work and put that extra time and work at night? And I still do it. And I think it's the passion of building something that is unique, something that is yours, and then being able to see. I have 2 kids, and when I see them playing my games, it's something that changes. It just changes the way that you perceive your game creation. So now when I'm building a game and when I'm doing something, it's more than just building a game. It's something that somebody else is going to consume, and it's going to give him first of all, it's going to give him a good time. It's going to either give him a good time, it's going to give him a bad time, but it's going to leave a mark. And that's one of the things that I try to do is, I close my eyes, think about, and when I build those games, even though they're simple, I try to build them in a way that I'm not, giving somebody a really great time. And, and one of my dreams is to, and I always tell people is to go to the airport and then look at a completely stranger and then see that they're playing one of my games. And and when that happens, Simon, I think that's just going to be, one of those, success points in your life where you say, okay, I made it and I want to keep making it.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be quite something. You'll need a hell of a lot of downloads to be able to catch that stranger. So you'll also have made a few dollars as well.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. So yeah, the first game was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Simon.
no, no, sorry, the internet dropped out for a second. Please carry on.
Okay, so the thing that I was gonna continue on is it has been 5 years in the makings, and the game that I started working on was Stickman World. That was after learning what I wanted to make and what I wanted to build. Stickman World was one of those. It was a 2D. It's a 2D game about this little 2D character. It started to be more detailed in the beginning as I started hiring a few people, and the game that you see right now is completely different than what I started building back then. And we have seen this. We want to get a lot of people around us, so I had about 5 to 6 people in my team. I had amazing illustrators, an amazing music guy, which is David Hausen, who did the music, the game, with volume as well. So he helped me a lot in the music for that game, and I think I wanted to do more than I could do, and I took way too long. So what I did is I transformed my first game because I spent way too much time doing it, and I ended up making a game that changed the story completely. I mean, a little bit, and then ended up making the look and feel of the game different because I wanted to make it myself. I did the music, I did the audio, I did the 2D characters. So a game that looked a lot different before, it changed completely because I just couldn't handle managing too many people. So I ended up doing everything on my own.
Yeah, no, I understand absolutely. What did you learn about that, and what did you learn the most about that game?
So there's a lot that I learned, and I think one of the takeaways to tell the indies is to try to make don't complicate things in the very beginning. Make sure that you something same time it's within your range. So don't start making something like that if you're making a game and if you're an indie developer, start with something that is small. It's okay if it's simple. It's okay if it's not going to be, great. It's not going to be, a AAA game. Just make something small that you can get creative. You can go through the ideation process, prototype it, start building it, and then have people play it. To go through that cycle so that you understand the entire process.
Yeah, thank you. And did you experience financial success from it straight away?
At the beginning, I didn't, to be honest. The first game, I thought I was going to become rich. I thought I was going to become an overnight success, just like many indies in the beginning experience when it wasn't as saturated as it is now. But what I learned from that is that it's okay that at the beginning you might make good money, but later on I started to learn different strategies. I started to learn to grow to reach to platforms in basically different ways that other people do. So you got to think outside the box.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? In what ways do you think out the box, like per platform?
Yeah, so when I released the Stickman World, I'm gonna be honest, I made $200-300 on the first few weeks, and that to me wasn't success, knowing that I could make thousands of dollars as a developer, and I wasn't seeking money. This is just more for people to know the reality that you can actually make zero money if you release a game nowadays. And the reason why that happened to me is because I thought that just putting the game out was enough, and people were gonna magically find the game and buy the game, and that doesn't work that way. So what I learned specifically with Cubics is that I needed to reach out to people. I needed to start, and it's hard at the beginning because I have a side job, and now I have to, and I'm a developer, and I'm also an artist, and I'm also, you know, making music. Now I also have to worry about PR. And the reality it is, you know, you have to worry about the PR. You have to worry about social media. And that's what I did. I started looking at sites that can, you know, could push my games, and I did that. So what I would do, and I still do it, is I would create a board. I use Trello, and I put a list of companies and agencies that I know that are going to help me either write an article, create a video, and get some kind of exposure. And I would do that. I would basically, you know, contact them each independently, send them an email. They don't respond to me, I'll reach out in another way. And I did that multiple times, and I was actually able to get featured by, I was able to get featured by Apple. I was able to get featured by Google Play, also by the Apple. And I don't know that there's an exact science. All I know is that if you are building a game right now, make sure that you do have a website. You are sending that, you're sending an announcement, basically a press kit of what you're building at least 6 weeks in advance. And then once you send it out, make sure that you still talk about it in social media, and you're letting people know your story. I think that's one more most important things that has worked for me, is letting people know what I'm doing basically at all times with my games.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and that's quite something to get featured, you know, by the Apple Store and the Android Store. Before we get into that specifically, can you tell us a little bit about QBQs and also, yeah, how about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I finished Stickman World. I started working. It took me about 3 years, and it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a good strategy to work on a game, you know, for so long and then make $200 to $300. Like, not make enough money, not know really what's going to happen. And so it was interesting because I went from making a game that took me so long as a single developer, and then now making something that was gonna. So I sat down and I look at what things I did good with Stigman World and what didn't I do good. And some of the takeaways was time. I spent just too much time on perfecting something that, you know, I didn't know if people were gonna like. With Cubics, I took a different approach. I started to work on it, and I set a goal. I decided, okay, I'm gonna make a game that is not gonna take me more than, you know, 3 to 6 months, and I want to release it to these, you know, 3 different platforms. So I sat down and I started, you know, brainstorming ideas. What game can I make? And I'm not an art person. Like I'm not a 3D artist, but I have a really good eye when it comes to building something. Even though some things that most of the things are simple, I try to keep them minimalistic. They end up looking what I think they look good. So with QB to make something simple, and cubes are simple. Anybody can make a cube. I can make a cube. So the ideation process of that game just, you know, it just came up, and I said, okay, I want to make a game with cubes, and looking at different mechanics, I started brainstorming, and I came up with, you know, a game about a cube that has to basically travel to, you know, to a target. And as he travels to a target, he has to visit and basically visit different tiles. And as he visits each tile, the tiles are going to disappear. But if he doesn't go to the right path, he's not going to be able to get to the right target. So I'm like, okay, I can make basically working on the levels. I work on designing. I design 10 levels. You know, very basic, like the Q mechanics. I started posting about it. People started liking what I was posting, even though it was, you know, a very simple game. They liked the mechanics, and I'm like, okay, there's something in here. I even had my wife and a couple of friends play with a very early prototype that didn't have any post-processing effects. It didn't have music. It just was just a plain game, and they liked it. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna spend, a few months on this game, and I spent about 3 months on that game working on it. I will get home from work and spend time with my wife, with my kids, and then right after that, at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., I would just go in until 2, and I did that for about 2 to 3 months, and I was able to finish the game, and man, I remember when I finished the level number 50, like one of the last levels, and that was my goal, and I told my wife, okay, I'm ready to release. But before then, I knew that when I said that with Stickman World, things didn't really go well. So I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do this time that I could pitch? Decided to do is spend 1 month of PR, basically is telling people about it, basically contacting platforms about it, and that actually helped me. I hold. Hey Simon, I don't know if you get the last thing that I said.
You were saying that you
Hello?
had what you spent a month on PR, which was the last thing I got here.
Yeah, perfect. That's basically what the last thing is that I was talking about, is basically spending at least, spending time on the PR before I release Cubix.
Thank you. And so, what was the detail of that? Who did you reach out to? Did you use an agency? Did you do it yourself?
So I did use it was basically myself. I've been doing so since I've been working on games for about 5 years. I'm pretty active in Twitter. I'm pretty active in LinkedIn, and also has a page like crazy. And it's basically, yeah, it's just been me just getting my social media presence, pretty high up there. But at the same time, I did reach to multiple platforms, multiple mobile websites that I can probably tell you about. uh, I can send them to you in an email so you can let the community know.
Wow, I mean, that would be very generous and kind of you. Yeah, fabulous. I mean, what you're saying is so valuable, and very often the youngsters or the new indies, they don't have the contacts or the connections. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's getting disconnected. I can hear you now.
Yes. Yeah. Did you hear what I was saying before?
Yeah, I heard you saying that this information is really valuable, and
Yeah.
it's for the people that are starting out. So yeah, I got that part.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Um, so yeah, I mean, maybe we'll go to another question if that's all right. I mean, well, as well as PR, you seem pretty outstanding at marketing. Like you built a YouTube channel, which I was extremely impressed with, and it was really in-depth, detailed information, sharing your game dev journey, but also looking in detail at stats and stuff like that. And how have you done this? How have you built your following?
Yeah, so YouTube is amazing. I say that because YouTube is one of those platforms that I think they're not as exploited yet for indies, and I think that's something that I started doing myself. I honestly I was really afraid of the camera. When I started YouTube, I didn't see myself talking to people in front of the camera, and then now you're getting more comfortable. You're growing as an indie, as a professional, and I started trying that. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try YouTube and see if I can I can teach people, because I like tweets are short and they're right to the point. So I wanted to expand that a little bit more and give people more insight. So I started the channel with the idea of letting people know what I was doing, motivating people about I'm working late tonight, and these are some takeaways, the things that I'm learning, and also like you said, you saw the stats of how much money I make in some games and some things that I try. and people as well. So I started a channel with that, with the teaching indies and giving them information about takeaways from my journey. And I've been pivoting the channel now, and where I still do that. I like to teach people. So just to go back to your main question, how did I grow it? And it was basically that I'm targeting in Twitter. And people that follow me in Twitter, they know that I love making indie games. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start giving them more context about indie games, and that's what I started YouTube. And YouTube has been great because I've been able to give them more in-depth information about what I'm doing. When I'm creating a game, how do I prototype a game, and then how do you take it from prototyping to the very end. And that when I started doing that, I started doing 1 to 2 videos a week. Then I pivot to do daily videos, and ever since I've been doing I have companies like Unity, companies like Magic Leap, like other augmented reality companies that just came out. They've been supporting my journey as well. They're retweeting my things, and I think that has helped as well. I got some sponsors like GameDev.net. They are sponsoring me in their website. So it's just been a combination of a lot of things. I mean, I started from having to reach to people, and one of the takeaways that I tell people is get something out, get something and start, people are going to trust you. And I think that's what I'm seeing in my YouTube channel. Is that I'm seeing that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
You broke up after get something out.
Getting something out. Okay, yes. So one of the things that I recommend indies to do is make sure that they get a game out, they get a game finished, because that has been my story. I tell people that what I've been doing, and now in YouTube I continue the story, the conversation, giving them more details. So yeah, YouTube is being a great platform for me as an indie developer to be able to teach the indie community.
Thank you. That's fabulous. You talk about Magic Leap, for example, which made me think about how are your games funded? Have you funded them yourself, or have you managed to raise funds to fund your games?
Sorry, Simon, I think I'm losing you. Let's see. Okay. I heard the part where you say you talk about Magic and then it got cut off.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned Magic Leap, and then that made me think about, do they fund you even? And then I thought, how do you fund your games? Do you fund them yourself, or have you raised money to fund them?
So the way that I fund my game as a developer, and I'm grateful that I have a really good salary as a full stack developer. So most of my earnings go to my games, and that's basically what I use as my investment. So it's basically the salary from my day job that I'm using to push the PR, to push the all the costs that got into making a game, hiring people, the website maintenance, some of the PR, the additional PR that I'm doing, which is Facebook ads. And so yeah, it's basically just making sure that you can leverage your time with your day job, and then at the same time use that money that I'm making towards my games.
Thank you. Fabulous. So do you have a plan when there'll be a tipping point where you can live on the royalties of your games to make new ones?
Yeah, that's been, so that's the plan for every indie developer, right? We don't want to work. We want to make our own games, and we want to make our own dreams come to reality. So my plan is that what I think is going to happen, and this is my dream right now, is I'm growing my YouTube channel. That's going really well. I still wanna make my games, and so I'm doing those two things. So right now I'm doing augmented reality games. The reason why I shifted to augmented reality games is because I'm getting the help from platforms as well. So Magic Leap is funding me with, they are providing me with the hardware that I need to basically push the game out. Oculus is also funding me and helping me with hardware. So now that I have the hardware, what I'm doing is, making sure that I focus. I set a goal to get my game into Magic Leap in the next 3 to 6 months, and I think that might be a little early, but I'm really thinking about the strategy, and I'm hoping that that's gonna do well enough that I can, it can take me to the next phase of my life. That might be going indie and full time, or it might be building a bigger game and a better game.
Yeah, well, I wish you tremendous luck with that. It's fantastic. It's, I mean, I've had the experience. I did Peppa Pig. I don't know if you've heard of that brand. I did Peppa Pig here and also Doctor Who, and the royalties from that were, enough for us to be able to, make new games. I've spent them all now, but it was a really great period for having that stability to build the games that you want and to build them to the quality that you want, without having to worry about money. So, yeah, good luck getting to the next level.
Thank you. And what you're telling me really resonates to me, and yeah, I really appreciate your time by providing me with the opportunity to talk to you, because I know that I'm never gonna forget this time, Simon. That's all I know.
Well, I think we're going to learn from each other, because I feel a bit past it in some of these social media aspects. So you're really helping me too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know one thing, and that's don't give up.
Yeah.
Because I took one game and I took it all around the world, to different conventions and different shows, and for a year and a half I tried to sell it. Nobody was interested. And then I went back to the boys and I said, look, there's one more show. We spent 50,000 on the demo, and if we don't sell this game, we're just going to have to give it up and try something else, because there doesn't seem to be an appetite in the market for this game. And I was about to give up. I was on my way out the door, and I saw a publisher in the same genre. It was a horror title, and I saw a publisher in the same genre. And I thought, well, I'll just try this one before I go. And I thought, oh, I'm too tired. And I thought, well, just go, because at least you can say you've done your best. And I went there, and it was a French company, and the business development guy wasn't there. And the last thing I wanted was to try and explain the game over the phone the following week in a foreign language. But the business card, it was an English guy who was a Francophile living out in France. And so I did phone the next week, and to cut a long story short, within 6 weeks, they gave me 1.8 million euros to do that game. So you just never know, it's coming. If you put the work into the universe, it's coming,
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So there is something I'd like to talk to you about that Nicola told me, that you got featured on iOS with zero marketing budget. And it's a really important question, how did you get onto the front pages of the Apple Store and Android stores, knowing how many, I don't know how many apps there are released today. It was, somebody told me 1,000 a day, and that was like a few years ago. So how did you do that? It's incredible.
Okay, so what I wanted to share is, if you're making a game and you're going to release it, the way that it worked for me is I finished my game, I had all levels designed, and a lot of people don't like to write press kits or a website up and running. So this is what worked for me. I got it up and running. I created a press kit that looked really professional. I had images about the game. I have a really in-depth description about the game, the mechanics. I had put up a really good trailer. So that's one thing that is really, really important, is you want to make sure that you have a really good trailer. So your trailer needs to look professional. It needs to be specific to the platform. Don't make a trailer that is for, if it's for Steam, make a trailer that is for the platform. It needs to be short and concise. It needs to be about 30 seconds, which is what the previews are showing. So when you're making a game, and if you're really for Apple, Apple will ask you to, what I would say you do is fill out the,
Sorry, you've gone again.
fill out, okay. So it's really important that you fill out all the information in Apple Store Connect. So you're reading an application in Apple Store Connect, you're adding, your icons, all your images, in-depth description, also the trailer. So what I did to get, what I think it worked for me to get featured is I did all of that. I got a press kit created. I also had a website up and running. I got all the information Apple Store Connect, the videos, the trailer was professional. And then once I had all that ready, I went into the Apple Store. So Apple Store and Google Play and many platforms, they have a PR website. And in that PR website, you can basically fill out a form. And in that form, they ask you, when are you going to be releasing your game? What mechanics your game are going to have? And one thing that is very important that a lot of indies don't know is make sure that you're including features. Yeah, so make sure that you're including new features that the platform is releasing, such as if Apple has an announcement and they're including 3D touch, or they might be including another feature from the operating system. Make sure that you're looking at how your game can be incorporated into those, to have those features, because when Apple is looking at games to be featured, they're looking at things that are going to make them a better brand. So if 3D touch is going to be the things that they are marketing, they're going to want to put your game into that marketing page. So those are really important, is picking things that are specific to the platform, letting the platform know in advance that when your game is releasing. When I say in advance, I'm talking about 6 weeks at least, no less than 6 weeks. Otherwise, they're not going to have enough time to feature your game. And yeah, I mean, I did the same thing with Google Play and other things I did that I think help as well. So that was a combination of things. That was a couple of things that I did. I also used Twitter to reach out, couple editors that I have researched in tweet. And I don't know if that worked, but I got featured. So one of those things might have worked, and I do it every time I basically release a game.
Thank you. Wow, that's really comprehensive and really professional. Do you ever meet with them face to face to talk about what you're doing?
So I haven't. I did, well, with Xbox. So this is a different story, but I was releasing Stigman World to the Xbox ID, part of the Xbox One program. And I did go on a conference, and I met Chris Charla, which is, he was the director of that program. I don't know if he still is, but that was my closest encounter to people that in the platform, in the medium, that, has helped me in my journey. In the Apple world, I haven't met with anybody face to face. It's normally either I do connect with them via LinkedIn. So I would say, if you're not into PR, make sure that you get into LinkedIn and you start connecting to people in the industry, because you might be surprised of who helps you out. They might not tell you, but they know how much you're working on your games and you're posting about your games. And that might be one of the things that work for me. It might be that somebody in LinkedIn helped me out. And so again, it's a strategy, marketing strategy to release a game.
I'm sorry, Dilmer, could you repeat that last piece? I got as far as you never know who's going to who might help you out on LinkedIn, and then it cut out again.
Yeah, so you never know who might help you out on LinkedIn. So like I was saying, make sure that you're connecting to people on LinkedIn, and then people in the industry, people that are building games like you, people that are in Apple that are also editors. I did that as well with a couple of editors, because at the end of the day, people are, like you, they're building things and they're seeing that you're putting hard work. And it could have been that one of them saw my work and they liked it and they passed it to another person. So the entire plan is an entire marketing strategy. So don't just try one thing and give up. You get as many doors as you can and never give up. Just keep trying. And if this game doesn't do well, make another game and then keep knocking on doors.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I wasn't sure if it disconnected or if you'd stopped. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, there we go.
We captured all of that. Have you been? How many times have you been featured?
All right, looks like we're back now.
Right, thank you. How many times have you been featured?
So I got featured with Cubics multiple times on iOS, also in Apple TV, and also the Mac Store. Then when I started working on Cubics 2, it also happened again. So Cubics 1 did really well. I really enjoy how that journey went. So I also enjoyed the game Cubics. So I built a game called Cubics 2, which is basically the next version. That one also got featured in. Also, I came up with mechanic and a different look. It's a little darker and it's not as colorful as the first version. So that one also featured it. It got featured a lot of times in the Apple TV. So and on the front page on the Apple TV, which was amazing, and it was amazing to come home and look at, pull up my Apple TV and see my game right on the front page. So that one did really well.
Did that translate into downloads?
So the Apple TV, and I'm not sure how it is right now, but back then it wasn't, money-wise, it wasn't a lot of money. So I was selling about 40 copies per day, each copy being $1. First 2 weeks of iOS Cubics was making about 700 to 800 a day. So, and that kept on happening every time they got me featured.
Sorry, it broke up after $40 a day.
Yeah, so on the Apple TV, I was making about 40 copies. So, every day somebody would download a game, it was about 99 cents. But on iOS, it's way more. And you probably know that, being, having so many iOS devices in the world, it was way more. I was selling about 700 to 800 copies per day on iOS just for Cubics 1. So that's kind of the difference between those two platforms.
Oh, that's great. It's such a wonderful success story to hear, how you've progressed and built it bit by bit, I'd like to sort of ask you, to give some advice, what you would recommend to young indies. But before that, just one last piece. Are there any other tools that you use to reach people and to get your game out there?
Yeah, I think I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay.
I was just wondering if there are any other tools that you use in addition to, the press pack and the PR and the marketing. Any other tools or platforms that you use to spread the word about your game? Did you hear the question?
The last part that I got was if there were other tools that I use to launch my games.
Yes, yeah, to build your community and your market outside of the YouTube and the press kits and the PR.
Yeah, so other tools that I'm currently using, it's basically for ads. I've been doing, even though, like I said in the beginning, we might not enjoy doing PR, we have to do PR. And one of those PR tools that I've been using lately that I think are taking to give you guys an idea, if you market your game in countries where it's really cheap, meaning I have a list of countries in Europe where the ads only cost me 0.001 per interaction. So if you're thinking about doing that in the United States, you're basically interactions are way more expensive. So Facebook ads has been one of the things that I use a lot to reach out the indie community, to reach out to when I'm basically releasing a game. I have a very target niche of people, an audience that I built through Facebook ads. So I would say, if you're an indie and you're starting on and you're gonna release your game, just try it out Facebook ads, because it's really gonna help you in growing a community. And I'm gonna be probably doing a lot more videos about that part of the of the business. And I think if people are listening to me right now, if they want to check them out at some point, go to my channel and check them out, because I think I would need to go into more detail on how that works.
Yeah, absolutely.
And other tools, yeah, yeah,
I'll be
thank you.
signing up myself if that's all right. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
So yeah, and other tools that I use. No, you're completely fine. The other tools that I use as well for for social media is I use Crossfire as well to schedule my tweets. So a lot of people might say, okay, I don't have time to tweet my work. And what I do sometimes in weeks that I don't want to be, I don't want to be in social media as involved because I need to get a project done, I might spend 1 hour just creating a schedule of tweets. And then that way, for the following week, I have tweets that I have already created in advance.
What was the name of that tool, please? The Twitter tool?
Yes, it's a Twitter tool. It's called a Crowdfire.
Crowdfire?
Yep, correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Fabulous. So, if you were to do, if you could start again, would you do anything differently?
If I could start again, that's a great question. I think everything that I done so far has been a lesson. And if I knew what I know now from the very beginning, I would have probably changed a lot of things. But I don't think I'm able to get to this point without those failures. So one thing that I want people to understand is that failing is okay. Failing, and then failing fast is better, because failing fast also teaches you what people want, what they're looking for, what you might need to learn. You might need to grow a lot of things before you build that AAA game that you want to build. So I think one of the takeaways from everything that I've done is make sure that you keep things simple. So try not to overcomplicate, and try not to think, too ahead. Like building a AAA game, it's not feasible. Build something simple that, I'm not saying it's gonna be boring. It's gonna be a fun game, but make something, instead of building 100 levels, build 20 levels. Get it out, start from the beginning, and then prototype it, go through that entire process, and sit down and evaluate what you did good, what you didn't do good, write them down, and don't just, also don't jump into making a game without a plan. So that's one of the things that I see a lot of people do. They jump in and they start building things in a game engine, and then they get overwhelmed because there's just too many components. Making a game is complicated. There's even simple games are complicated. So make sure that you step back and you plan your entire, you might not know everything, because we don't know everything when we're building things from the very beginning, but you might know more if you sit down and plan it out and have a strategy about when you're going to be releasing, what kind of idea you have about releasing, what your team is going to be looking like. So that's one of the things I did badly in the beginning, and it has been, I've been improving on that, and I think that's one of the things that have allowed me to release so many games and also get featured in so many forms.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And great advice for indies. I've made a good few huge 3D walkthroughs that were supposed to be games, but we either ran out of time or we couldn't put the content in to meet the deadline. So now, if I approach something, I will make one prototype or one small level where I'll show off the best bits of the game before I even start making the rest,
Exactly. That
Are you playing anything at the moment?
gonna function before I actually start growing. So playing
Sorry, say that
games, they always ask me that question.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
I said
Being
playing
written.
games, they always ask me that question. Yeah, so currently I haven't been playing many games. I normally, they ask me that question in many interviews. I normally just focus on making games. I've been playing. I mean, I've been playing with the Oculus and Beat Saber is being one that I play recently. I also been using playing a lot of the games in Magic Leap, the experiences that they have in Magic Leap, like Torandi, which is an experience about music and how music interacts with 3D elements in an augmented reality world. So it's just been, all over the place, but nothing specific to the big games that are going on right now. I know what they are, but I haven't played them.
Yeah, thank you. I know what you mean. I'm lucky that I've got a 17-year-old son, and I watch him play Fortnite over his shoulder. So I get everything I need to know without having to do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah. If the community would like to contact you, is there an easy way to reach you?
Yeah, I'm always available I'm available through YouTube. If they want to send me a message in one of the comments in the videos, they can contact me via Twitter. I have the messaging box open for even people that I'm not following. They can contact me through my website email, which is info@dilmergames.com. So yeah, any of those mediums, I'm always paranoid. I always answer emails, and I'm always looking at everything that people are sending me.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I can see that's how you've built a successful community, by having that attention to detail. It's been very interesting and inspiring for me. Thank you for being with us today.
No, thank you, Simon. It's been a pleasure as well to get to know somebody that has so much experience in the industry and make games that I want to build someday. So I really appreciate your time and thank you for reaching out as well.